Welcome to Value Plays Only, where Nadu is just a 3-mana coiling oracle. Today, we have Tyler, playing Marneus Calgar. This Esper value pile is chock-a-block full of token generators that Marneus turns into card advantage. They come in with Thassa's Oracle or Hullbreaker Horror Loops. His hand contains a Mockingbird, Clever Impersonator, Mox Diamond, Mana Vault, Mox Opal, Watery Grave, and Godless Shrine. Dan is playing Ruric Thar, the Unbowed. It is a hard control deck. It looks to ramp out its commander and defend it. This deck tries to disrupt the game plans of every other deck of the format in 6 damage chunks. His hand contains Fyndhorn Elves, Lion's Eye Diamond, Goblin and Archomancer, Lightning Greaves, Deflecting Swat, Misty Rainforest, and Prismatic Vista. Ryan is playing Erinis, Gloomstalker, with the background Street Urchin. This is a layered Gruul combo deck pretending to be a creature control deck. It can machine gun down threats or pivot between Protean Hulk and Conspicuous Snoop Winds. His hand contains a Vexing Shusher, Hyrax Tire Scout, the Cabbage Merchant, Wandering Archaic, Gamble, Urza Saga, and Arid Mesa. John is playing Korvold, Fey Curse King. It is a landfall combo deck wrapped in a card advantage shell. It can win with Food Chain or long convoluted landfall combos. His hand contains a Hexing Squelcher, 6, Mox Diamond, Crop Rotation, Finale Devastation, Gemstone Caverns, and Command Tower. And with that, let's see some value plays. John has a pregame action, putting Gemstone Caverns into play, exiling Hexing Squelcher. Tyler then starts things off with a Watery Grave, his land for turn, into play on tap, paying 2 life. He casts Mox Diamond. In response, John casts Crop Rotation, sacrificing Gemstone Caverns as an additional cost. He searches up an Ancient Tomb into play. Diamond then resolves, discarding Godless Shrine as it enters. He casts Mana Vault. He casts Mox Opal. Everyone tells him to calm down as Tyler passes the turn. Dan plays a Prismatic Vista as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up a forest. He casts a Fyndhorn Elves. He then casts a Lion's Eye Diamond. Dan passes the turn. Ryan plays an Arid Mesa as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up a Taiga. He then casts a Gamble. It resolves and Ryan searches up a card hand and randomly discards Hyrax Tire Scout. The table all squint a bit at this obvious combo piece as Ryan passes the turn. John taps and draws. He plays a Command Tower as land for turn. He casts 6. John says this was his whole mulligan and passes the turn. Tyler taps and draws. He plays a Polluted Delta as land for turn. He casts a Mockingbird with X equals 2. It enters as a copy of 6. Tyler then passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He plays a Misty Rainforest as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up a Taiga. He casts Goblin and Archomancer. He casts Llanowar Elves. Dan passes the turn. Ryan untaps and draws. He plays an Urza Saga as land for turn, getting his first counter. He casts his commander, Street Urchin. Ryan passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He swings 6 at Tyler. 6 triggers to mill Chain of Smog, Soul Ring, and Dryad Arbor, adding Arbor to hand. Tyler blocks with his flying 6. In his second main phase, John casts Mox Diamond, discarding Dryad Arbor as it enters. He casts Finale Devastation with X equals 2. It resolves and he searches up an Aftermath Analyst to the battlefield. It enters and triggers to mill 3 cards. He then casts Lion's Eye Diamond. John passes the turn. Tyler taps and draws. He goes to combat and swings 6 at Dan. It triggers to mill Underground Sea, Morphic Pool, and Cabal Profiteering Mayor, adding Underground Sea to hand. Dan takes the damage. Tyler plays Underground Sea's land for turn. He casts a Wishclaw Talisman. It enters with 3 counters. Tyler activates it, searching up a card in hand and giving Wishclaw to Dan. He passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He casts Green Sun Zenith with X equals 1. He searches up a Delighted Halfling to the battlefield. He casts a Lightning Greaves. He then sacrifices Lion's Eye Diamond, discarding his hand and adding 3 red. He casts his commander, Ruric Thar, the Unbowed. He equips it with Lightning Greaves and moves to combat, swinging Ruric Thar at Tyler. Tyler takes the damage, and Dan passes the turn. Ryan untaps and draws. In his first main phase, Urza Saga gets another counter. He plays a City Brass as land for turn. Ryan casts his other commander, Erinis, Gloomstalker. Ryan then passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He goes into the tank on how to best proceed here. He plays a Verdant Catacombs as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up Badlands. He goes to combat swinging 6 at Tyler. It triggers to mill 3, finding no lands. Tyler takes the damage. In his second main phase, John casts his commander, Korvold, Fey Curse King. It enters and triggers to sacrifice Badlands. It triggers again to draw. John holds priority and sacrifices Lion's Eye Diamond, adding 3 green mana and discarding his hand, including Life from the Loam. Korvold triggers again. John replaces the draw trigger with Dredge 3, milling Rite of Flame, Rain of Filth, and Demonic Tutor, returning life to hand. He then draws another card. He casts Life from the Loam, targeting Badlands, Verdant Catacombs, and Dryad Arbor. Ruric Thar blasts John for 6. At this point, John realizes he doesn't have a loop under Ruric Thar and adds the cards to hand. John retraces Lion's Eye Diamond, discarding Dryad Arbor. Ruric Thar blasts him for 6 again. He sacrifices LED for 3 more green. Korvold triggers and John dredges 3 to put Life from the Loam back in hand. He pays his 4 mana to sacrifice Aftermath Analyst to return all lands from his graveyard to the battlefield. Korvold triggers to draw. In response to Analyst, Ryan evokes Endurance. John cries out at the injustice as Endurance resolves and triggers to shuffle John's grave onto the bottom of his library. The Analyst ability then fizzles and John passes the turn, devoid of all hope. Tyler untaps and draws. He pays life and cracks his polluted delta, fetching up a Tundra. He then casts a Hullbreaker Horror. Everyone shuts up and looks back at Tyler's board for the first time in a while. It resolves and Tyler casts Chrome Mox. Hullbreaker and Ruric Thar trigger. Tyler takes 6 and bounces Mox Opal to hand. He imprints a Clever Impersonator as it enters. He then casts Cyclonic Rift targeting Lightning Greaves. Hullbreaker and Ruric Thar trigger. Tyler takes 6 and then bounces his Wishclaw Talisman back to hand. He recasts Mox Opal. Hullbreaker and Ruric Thar trigger. Tyler takes 6 and realizes he needs a bit more mana as he has to bounce Mana Vault back to hand. He recasts Mana Vault. Hullbreaker and Ruric Thar trigger. Tyler takes 6 and bounces Mox Opal to hand. He recasts Mox Opal. Hullbreaker and Ruric Thar trigger. Tyler takes 6 and then finally bounces the Ruric Thar back to hand. He then casts the last card in his hand, Wishclaw Talisman. Hullbreaker triggers to bounce Mox Opal. Tyler can now present a loop of casting Mox Opal and Mana Vault over and over, triggering Hullbreaker Horror to bounce the other rock as he casts one, floating mana in between. He does this until he has infinite mana of all colors. He then casts his commander, Marneus Calgar. He activates Marneus, making 2 tokens. Marneus triggers to draw. He does this a boatload more times, drawing through his entire library. He then casts Thassa's Oracle. It enters and triggers, and with an empty library, Tyler wins the game. Today, we have a 2-for-1 deal. In this game, Tyler is playing Rograkh, son of Rograkh, and Silas Wren's Secret Adept. This is the fastest deck in the format. It uses Rograkh to its highest potential, blazing out Grixis flavored winds as early as turn 1 or 2. His hand contains a Paradise Mantle, Guild Artisan, Demonic Tutor, Windfall, Time Twister, Scalding Tarn, and Arid Mesa. Dan is playing Lumra, Bellow of the Woods. This is a landfall combo deck. It can assemble many different infinite mana combos with any land untapping ability. It can often win only through activated abilities once it gets going. His hand contains a Spring Heart Nantuko, Food Chain, Crystal Vein, Gemstone Caverns, and Fabled Passage. His Lunar Mulligans are Boseiju Who Endures and Mouth of Ronom. John is playing Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. This deck looks to control the table while flipping big cards off the top for massive damage. His hand contains Chrome Mox, Tainted Pact, Deadly Rollick, Flare of Denial, Sink into Stuber, Hydroelectric Specimen, and Underground River. Nick is playing Thrasios, Triton Hero, and Tymna the Weaver. This deck leverages 2 card advantage engines in the command zone to piece together either an infinite mana or Thassa's Oracle win. His hand contains Llanowar Elves, Noble Hierarch, Crop Rotation, Eldritch Evolution, Breeding Pool, Verdant Catacombs, and Ancient Tomb. And with that, let's see some value plays. Dan has a pre-game action, putting Gemstone Caverns into play, exiling Fabled Passage. Tyler then starts things off with a Scalding Tarn as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up an Underground Sea. He casts his commander, Rograkh, son of Rograkh. He casts a Mox Amber. He casts a Guild Artisan. He casts a Paradise Mantle. With a blazing start, Tyler passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He plays a Crystal Vein as land for turn. He passes the turn. John plays an Underground River as land for turn. He casts a Chrome Mox, imprinting Sink into Stupor as it enters. He passes the turn. Nick plays a Breeding Pool as land for turn. Into play on tap, paying 2 life. He casts a Noble Hierarch. Nick passes the turn. Tyler untaps and draws. He plays a Misty Rainforest as land for turn. He goes to combat swinging Rograkh at Dan. Guild Artisan triggers to make 2 treasures. In his second main phase, Tyler casts a Demonic Tutor. It resolves and Tyler searches up a card to hand. He then pays a life and cracks Misty Rainforest, fetching up a Volcanic Island. He casts a Vexing Bauble. John takes a big gulp as he looks at his hand, but it resolves. John says he hopes they don't need him for anything, as Tyler passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He casts Spring Heart Nantuko. Dan then passes the turn. In his end step, John casts Tainted Pact. He starts exiling, getting only 15 or so deep before stopping on Orcish Bowmasters, adding it to hand. The turn then moves to John. John untaps and draws. He plays Hydroelectric Laboratory as land for turn, into play on tap, paying 3 life. He casts a main phase Orcish Bowmasters. It enters and triggers to ping off Rograkh. He then casts a Mockingbird with X equals 0. It enters as a copy of Noble Hierarch. He then passes the turn. Nick untaps and draws. He plays a Watery Grave, into play on tap, paying 3 life. He casts an Eldritch Evolution, sacrificing Noble Hierarch to search up a Ranger Captain of Eos. It triggers to search up a Mockingbird to hand. John starts sweating looking at his Bowmaster as Nick passes the turn. Tyler untaps and draws. He plays an Arid Mesa as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up a Badlands. He casts his other commander, Silas Wren's Secret Adept. Tyler then casts Mystic Remora. He passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He plays Urza's Cave as land for turn. Springheart triggers to make an insect. He then passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He plays Murkwater Pathways, land for turn. John asks Nick what his plan is for his Mockingbird, and Nick says it's most definitely a Bowmaster. John asks if they can work together to avoid hitting each other's boards and ping off Dan's 1-1 army that's forming. Nick says no deal. John goes to combat, swings Bowmaster and the Orc army at Nick. Nick blocks Bowmaster with Ranger Captain, and John activates the Commander Ninjutsu ability of Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow, returning the army to his hand. Nick takes 1 and Bowmaster dies. Yuriko triggers to reveal a Wingcrafter, with each opponent taking 1. John then passes the turn. Nick untaps and draws. He plays Verdant Catacombs as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up a Scrubland. He casts his commander, Tymna the Weaver. Nick goes to combat, swinging Ranger Captain at John. He takes the damage. In his second main phase, Tymna triggers to lose a life and draw a card. Nick then passes the turn. Tyler untaps, and in his upkeep, he pays to keep Remora. He goes to combat, swinging Silas at Dan. Guild Artisan triggers to make a treasure. John and Nick beg Dan to double block, but he says it's all good and takes the damage. In his second main phase, Tyler casts Windfall. Everyone discards the hand and draws 7. He then casts Culling Ritual. Nick gives this some side-eye, but Tyler says he just wants to cast the One Ring, and this is not a push. He says to save Ranger Captain for Dan's turn. Cabal Ritual resolves and makes 5 mana. He casts the One Ring. It enters and he gains protection from everything. He casts Chromatic Star. Tyler then passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He plays a Snow-Covered Forest as land for turn. Nantuko triggers to make an insect. He casts an Exploration Brood Ship. Remora triggers and Tyler draws. He stations it for 3 with his creatures and taps out to cast 6. He then plays City of Traders as a second land for turn. Nantuko makes another insect. He then passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He goes to combat and swings his Mockingbird at Nick. He declares no blocks, and John activates the Ninjutsu of Covert Technician, returning it to hand. Nick takes the damage, and Covert and Yuriko trigger. He reveals a Toxic Deluge, with each opponent taking 3, and then declines to put in an artifact. In his second main phase, he casts a Mockingbird with X equals 2. It enters as a copy of Ranger Captain of Eos, and triggers to search up a 4th Bridge Prowler to hand. He then passes the turn, discarding the hand size. Nick untaps and draws. He plays a Flooded Strand as land for turn. He goes to combat and looks very cautiously at John's board. John says he's not trying to out all the Ranger Captains and he will let him in. Nick swings Ranger Captain at John. John takes the damage. In his second main phase, Tymna triggers to lose a life and draw. He then passes the turn. In his end step, Tyler activates the One Ring to draw. Tyler untaps and in his upkeep, Remora and the One Ring trigger. He takes 1 and then pays for Remora. He plays Phyrexian Towers, land for turn. Tyler goes to combat and swings Silas at Dan. Guild Artisan triggers to make treasures. Dan blocks 6 and both die. In his second main phase, he taps the One Ring to draw 2 cards. He holds priority and casts Mystical Tutor. In response, Nick casts Fairy Mastermind. Tyler searches up a Force of Will to the top of his library. He then draws 2. Mastermind triggers. In response, Nick pays life and cracks Flooded Strand, fetching up a Hedge Maze into play tapped, triggering to surveil Finale of Devastation into his grave. He then draws. Tyler then recasts his commander, Rograkh, son of Rograkh. He passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He floats mana with City Traders. He then plays Strip Mine as land for turn. City Traders triggers to sacrifice. Nantuko makes an insect. He then plays Echoing Deeps as a copy of City of Traders. Nantuko makes an insect. He stations his Brood Ship 4/8 with all of his insects. He uses the ability of Brood Ship to sacrifice Forest to cast Food Chain from his grave. For more triggers, and Dan pays. John shows Tyler a card in hand and begs him to lift his Vexing Bauble Jail so he can interact. Tyler sacrifices Chromatic Star to make a mana and draw. He then pays 1 to very reluctantly crack his Vexing Bauble, drawing again. John now responds to Food Chain with a Commandeer, exiling Force of Will and Thassa's Oracle. Mystic triggers and Tyler draws. John gains control of Food Chain and it resolves under his control. This means Dan can't just keep trying to recast it from his grave with Brood Ship. Dan then goes to combat and swings Brood Ship at Tyler. He takes the damage and Dan passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He plays a Misty Rainforest as land for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up an Underground Sea. He goes to combat swinging his Ranger Captain, Covert, and Yuriko at Tyler. Tyler takes the damage. Covert triggers and Yuriko triggers 2 times. The first flip reveals Submerge, with each opponent taking 5. The second reveals Universal Automaton, with each opponent taking 1. Covert then puts Automaton into play. In his second main phase, John casts Counterbalance. Mystic triggers and Tyler draws. Tyler responds with an Orcish Bowmasters. It enters and triggers to pick Automaton, killing it. John then sacrifices Ranger Captain of Eos. Everyone passes priority and it resolves, blocking John's opponents out of non-creature spells this turn. He casts Toxic Deluge, paying 2 life as an additional cost. Mystic triggers and Tyler draws. Mastermind triggers and Nick draws. Bowmaster triggers to ping Ranger Captain for 1. John cries as he was trying to keep the Ranger Captain alive with this play. In response, Nick cracks his Ranger Captain to lock John out of non-creature spells this turn. The board is then wiped except for John's Ninjas and a Brood Ship. John then passes the turn. Nick untaps and draws. He starts poking around in everyone's graves and says he's thinking of casting Mnemonic Betrayal. Everyone sees 2 Bowmasters and a Windfall in the grave and don't want this to happen, and tell him he's not going to get far. Nick casts a trusty counterbalance check with Voice of Victory. Counterbalance triggers and John declines. Tyler casts Force of Will, paying a life and exiling Gitaxian Probe as an alternate cost. John declines to reveal. Nick goes into the tank thinking how bad he needs to push here. He says this is the time and casts Pact of Negation, Mystic and counterbalance trigger. John declines and Tyler draws. They start another round of debates here on if this is really the moment, but Nick is sure he's not getting another turn, and it needs to be now. Tyler steps in again and casts Demonic Consultation. The table commend his dedication as Nick steps in and casts Mental Misstep, Mystic and counterbalance trigger. John decides he wants Tyler to exile a lot of his library, and decides to reveal for the first time this game, showing a Dream Beavers, countering Mental Misstep. Nick puts his head in his hands as Consultation resolves. Tyler names Deflecting Swat. He starts exiling the top 6, including Deflecting Swat. Tyler slams his head into his hands, as he now exiles the rest of his library. Nick's mood picks up significantly. Pact then counters Force of Will. With Voice still on the stack, John casts Submerge, targeting his own Covert Technician to keep Nick from gaining access to Mnemonic Betrayal. Mystic triggers and Tyler declines. Tyler says that he suddenly needs the Mnemonic Betrayal to resolve if Nick is willing to cast Time Twister out of his grave to give Tyler a library back again. Nick, with no other friends at the table, agrees. Tyler casts Into the Floodmaw, targeting Counterbalance. John responds with a Flusterstorm with a boatload of copies on Floodmaw. Floodmaw is countered, and finally, Voice of Victory resolves. Having burned all cards from everyone's hands, Nick just casts his commander, Thrasios, Trade and Hero. He casts Deathrite Shaman. He then passes the turn. Tyler untaps, he attempts to draw from an empty library and loses the game. Dan untaps and draws. He plays a Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, as land for turn. City Traders triggers to sacrifice. He sacrifices Crystal Veil to help cast his commander, Lumra, Bellow of the Woods. It enters and triggers to mill 4 and return a pile of lands into play tapped. Echoing Deeps enters as a copy of Sanctum of Eternity. Urza's Saga triggers to get its first counter. He then sacrifices a land to bestow Springheart Nantuko from his grave, targeting Lumra. In an incredible position, Dan passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He swings Yuriko at Nick, begging for a draw to stop Dan. Nick blocks with Voice of Victory. In his second main phase, John casts Agadeem's Awakening with X equals 2, targeting Universal Automaton and Orcish Bowmasters in his grave. Bowmaster enters and triggers, targeting Deathrite. John exiles the army to Food Chain for a black creature mana to cast 4th Bridge Prowler. It enters and triggers to ping Deathrite, killing it. John then passes the turn. Nick untaps and in his upkeep, Pact of Negation triggers and he pays. He then plays Polluted Delta as land for turn. Nick just passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. Urza's Saga triggers to get another counter. He sacrifices City of Traders, 2 Broodship to cast 6 from grave. He plays Lazotep Quarry as land for turn. Springheart Nantuko triggers. In response, Nick casts Deadly Relic, targeting Lumra. In response to this, Dan activates Sanctum of Eternity to return Lumra to hand. Dan then makes an Insect. He recasts Lumra from hand. It enters and triggers, milling 4 and returning only 3 lands to the battlefield. Nantuko triggers 3 times to make an Insect. Dan then retraces Zurin Orb from his grave with 6. Counterbalance reveals Dream Beavers again to spite Dan. Dan then goes to combat, swings Broodship at John. He takes the damage and Dan passes the turn. John untaps and draws. He casts everyone's favorite, Dream Beavers. It triggers to drain over 1 for 1 and scry 1, putting it on the bottom. He then goes to combat, swinging his team at Nick. Nick blocks Bowmaster with Thrasios and Yuriko with Voice. John then uses the Ninjutsu of Covert Technician, returning 4th Bridge Prowler to hand. Nick takes the damage. Covert triggers and Yuriko triggers twice. The first trigger reveals Morphic Pool, and the second reveals Flooded Strand. In his second main phase, he casts 4th Bridge Prowler. It triggers to ping off Nantuko. John plays Flooded Strand as land for turn. John then passes the turn. In his end step, Nick pays life and cracks Polluted Delta, fetching up an Underground Sea. He casts Vampiric Tutor. Counterbalance triggers and John reveals a Bloodstained Mire. Nick then searches up a card at the top of his library and loses 2 life. The turn then moves to Nick. Nick untaps and draws. He casts Devoted Druid. Counterbalance triggers. In response, John pays life and cracks Flooded Strand, looking for his Surveil land. He now notices it's in exile and becomes a lot less hopeful. He puts an island into play. Counterbalance then reveals a Mystic Remora. Nick slams his head again, as the combo piece he needs is now stopped by Counterbalance. He then pivots and casts Mnemonic Betrayal. It resolves and Nick gains access to John and Dan's graves. He casts a Mox Diamond, discarding Starting Town as it enters. Nick goes to cast Submerge when John points out the food chain that he has in play. This means Nick can't use Submerge to change the top card of John's library. With no mana or plays available outside of 1 mana, Nick tries to ensure that he'll live to see his next turn. He casts Deadly Relic, targeting Lumra. He then casts Submerge, targeting Exploration Broodship. With no other way to advance, Nick passes the turn with 1 card in hand. Dan taps and draws. Urza's Saga gets his final counter. In response, Dan floats a mana and then searches up an Amulet of Vigor to the battlefield. He casts his commander, Lumra, Bellow of the Woods. John and Nick huddle together now. Nick says that if John will let him get infinite mana, he'll spin Thrasios until he draws Force of Will, stopping there until his next turn. This means they could stop Dan here and John would get at least 1 combat of hope. John agrees and Nick casts Swift Reconfiguration, targeting Devoted Druid. Counterbalance triggers and John declines. Dan responds here with an Urza's Cave, sacrificing it to search up a Talon Gates of Moderate to the battlefield. It triggers to phase out Devoted Druid. Swift Reconfiguration then fizzles. Lumra then resolves and triggers. Dan holds priority and sacrifices all lands but 1 to Zurin Orb. He then mills 4 and returns a boatload of lands untapped thanks to Amulet of Vigor. Dan activates Sanctum of Eternity to return the Lumra to his hand. Dan can now present a loop of casting Lumra for 6, floating mana and sacrificing lands to Zurin Orb, and then returning them all to play with Lumra's ability. He can use this loop to mill through his entire deck, putting all lands into play over and over, including Sunscorched Desert. Every time this land enters, it pings an opponent for 1. He does this over and over until the table is dead. And with that, Dan finally wins the game. So what did we learn today? Counterbalance is the best card in the game, as long as you only ever need to hit on 1. Also, maybe giving the inevitable lands combo deck 8 turns to keep building value isn't the best long-term plan. If you have any tips for the video, leave them below. Subscribe if you feel like it. Until next time, keep making value plays.
We're gonna do one more pass through because I did not see the card I need. Fortunately, I can get anything else.
You're saying your mulligan, you had a card in mind and it's not even in your deck.
Correct.
Oof.
Oh.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Are we sure we're playing
feel
Bracket
odd.
5?
Yeah, this pod really does not look like it. Shit, does this win the game? Hang on.
What?
Shit, am I like about to win?
You should be.
Got one other card in hand. Is this one card?
There's an interaction with 6 Lion's Eye Diamond, a Dredge card, and Korvold.
Oh, really?
I think it may be something. Korvold ETB, I have to sack something. Let's sack...
Aftermath Analyst.
Put life from the loan... Oh. This is not a loop under Ruric Thar.
Yeah.
I just realized I have to cast this card.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's try something.
Go
Keep going.
Cast it a couple.
I'm going to cast it a couple. I'll cast life from the loam for 2. Trigger Ruric Thar.
Yay.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Lord.
You're welcome.
Way to go, Stacks.
It also doesn't work because you have to keep recasting LED too.
I can retrace LED by pitching one of these lands for
But
0.
Isn't that casting?
Yeah, because of Ruric Thar. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
In the absence
You
of
got
Ruric
like
Thar,
2
this
more.
seems good.
Yeah.
You got like 2 more.
Yeah, let's try.
Wow. You
Going for it?
I will
I
cast...
guess he could mill removal and then
Yeah, that's right.
And then hope to have
retrace
them,
it. It would have to be on a permanent.
Dude, this is crazy. You got like
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
I'm sure about this.
So risky.
I'm putting this thing in my hand.
You should get Cabbage Man. That seems good in this board state.
Anything is better than what I'm doing. Dude, it feels like this should be something, and yet I'm so fucked. How many more spells do I have? 3?
Yeah.
I've lost this game. It's fine. Let's
Just stop here.
yeah. Shut the hell up.
Rog's my mindset.
I don't
Yeah,
take orders
right.
from you. Dude, can you flash in endurance? 'Cause that's
Yes.
really cool.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh. Oh my god.
Dang, dude. Hey, you can stay at 21.
Shut the hell up. Okay, well,
Wow, good shit.
I'm glad I didn't try to go deeper. Okay, I have life from the loam in 1 card I pass. Wow, I have nothing.
That is crazy. This is for camera.
Yeah, perfect. That's the exact pacing.
We just have to flood the field enough to where he's got to burn the toxic, and then we get rid of both of the rangers, and we're chilling.
There we go.
Damn, push, brother, on your turn. Go for it, homie.
Man, please.
You know Dan's going to.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to swing my captain in you.
I will say that only benefits me.
It literally
But I will
benefits
say,
me so
I will
much.
say, I don't think John would.
I
but,
want
yeah.
to attack you.
If he
I said,
does.
can I have a draw and I'll give you extra draws? And you said, I hate you.
Yeah,
You remember that?
No, you're gonna
Back
flip
when,
a
back, when,
15.
back when you had a... It's in exile, brother.
I don't know.
It's literally in exile. It can't happen. I have no good cards left. I got no Bowman. I got no Shadow. I got no Thassa.
Now I don't have Bobble for you, right? And I'm down Force of Will.
Bubble only stops
And there's
me from stopping
still 2
you.
Ranger captains on the field. Like,
Yeah.
no, it does. I feel like that does not benefit me.
If you crack Bobble, I'll do that to force him.
You want Bobble Con so bad, dude. It hurts my heart.
Yeah.
Dude.
You literally saw me pitch Deadly Raw like misdirect flare.
I know.
Because my man definitely is just trying to untap and win.
I'm not. I'm trying to not let him win. And
No,
if you're
I-
saying he's just going to cast
No, I hear
Bowmaster
you.
twice and I'm dead, then I
hear
definitely
you.
don't get to
But
attack.
when you untap with all your mana and a 1 ring, like, and we've burned all this.
Dude, you want to see my hand?
A little bit.
The only thing...
Like, now I'm back on Tyler's side. Somehow wrong side is convinced me. I don't want to show him. I don't think there's a chance that it's a 0. Like, I don't think it's smart to show him what the number is.
We don't, I don't
Yeah,
have to go.
we can
above it.
talk.
Let's talk for a second.
Yeah, now he's
Your
gonna be
graveyard-
talking.
Your
Once he puts a
graveyard's-
pact of negation and a voice on
I
the
have a
stack, he
Mystic
says, now
Rewarder
we
trigger. I'm going
talk.
to draw before we
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, so walk me through it, brother. Walk me through
Yeah,
how I
beat you
don't
to 100
die.
mana.
Yeah, I know.
Hell
Right.
yeah.
Otherwise, I have to. I have to. Like, brother. You're,
Yeah.
like, this is what
Nah,
I'm thinking.
damn it.
Yeah, I see what you're thinking. I just,
Oh.
like, that's my demise.
You got SWAT move pack down to voice. Make him pay for both.
That'd be so
That's fucking
sick.
brilliant.
Kind of want console to resolve. Actually, I'm thinking
Here we go.
thinking about revealing for the first time this game.
Yeah, John lets me blow all my interaction.
I will reveal for misstep. It's a 1.
Oh,
The power!
you got anything for
What was that
consultation?
first?
Alright,
It's
I'm gonna
Dream
name SWAT.
Beavers. It's a beaver nightmare.
Can I see this?
What the hell?
Ooh.
Dream Beavers?
What do you name?
SWAT.
Okay.
Oh.
Was that 6?
Yeah, it's a 6.
That's the 6th card?
The 6th card.
Welcome to hell, brother.
It is your fate in your hand. Oh, hang on. I think 1 seems important. Yeah. Yeah, what's going on? Okay, that's the bottom.